The knock came at 11:47 p.m. Soft, desperate, wrong. Daniel Ross froze at his kitchen table, laptop still glowing with unfinished work. Next door, Maya's apartment had been silent for 3 days. No music, no laughter. Just occasional sounds he'd tried not to hear, raised voices, something breaking, crying that stopped too quickly. Now she stood in his doorway, mascara streaked, hands shaking, eyes holding a fear he'd never seen in 20 years of knowing her. "Can I stay here tonight?" she whispered. "Please, Daniel, I can't go back there." Before we begin, I want to invite you to join me on this journey. If this story touches your heart, please hit that like button and comment with your city so I can see how far Maya and Daniel's story travels. Now, let me tell you how a single moment of courage changed two lives forever. The rain had started around 9 that Saturday evening, the kind of Seattle rain that didn't announce itself with thunder but settled in like an unwelcome guest planning to stay. Daniel Ross sat at his kitchen table, the glow of his laptop casting shadows across the scattered papers of his consulting work, the kind of freelance projects that paid the bills and let him be home when Emma needed him. Down the hall, his 5-year-old daughter slept soundly, her nightlight casting star patterns across her ceiling. Daniel had checked on her twice already, a habit born from the first terrifying months after Sarah died. 3 years had passed, but some reflexes never faded. The apartment was quiet except for the rain drumming against the windows and the occasional hum of the refrigerator. It was the kind of quiet Daniel had built his life around. He stretched, reaching for his now cold coffee, when he heard it. At first he thought it was just the pipes or someone's television, but then it came again, a sound that made his chest tighten. Sobbing, muffled, broken, coming through the wall that separated his apartment from Maya's. Daniel set down his mug slowly. Maya Collins had moved in next door 8 months ago. When he'd opened his door to grab the mail and found her struggling with boxes, the recognition had hit them both simultaneously. Maya. His Maya. The girl who'd taught him how to climb the oak tree in her backyard when they were 7. Who'd sat with him in the hospital waiting room when his mother had her surgery. Who'd moved across the country for college and then design school, their friendship fading into annual Christmas cards and the occasional Facebook like. And now she lived 20 feet away. Those first few weeks had been awkward, then warm, then genuinely good. Maya would knock on his door with extra cookies from a baking experiment. Daniel would text her when he heard strange noises in her apartment, always just the ancient radiator. Emma had taken to Maya immediately, delighted to have a friend who wasn't a kid next door. Maya taught her to draw flowers. Daniel taught Maya how to fix her garbage disposal. It felt like finding a piece of his past when he needed it most. Then Ryan Hale had arrived. Daniel hadn't met him formally, just glimpses in the hallway. Tall, polished, the kind of guy who wore expensive watches and smiled like he was posing for a camera. Maya had seemed happy at first. There was laughter through the walls, music playing late into the night, the sounds of a relationship blooming. But over the past month, things had changed. The laughter stopped. The music turned darker, louder. Daniel started hearing arguments, Ryan's voice sharp and cutting, Maya's softer but defensive. Twice he'd heard things breaking. Once he'd seen Maya in the lobby with sunglasses on indoors, her smile too bright, too quick. He'd wanted to say something, but what? They were adults. Maybe he was overreacting. Maybe it was none of his business. Now, listening to her cry through the wall, Daniel knew he'd been wrong to stay quiet. He stood from the table, moving toward the shared wall. The sobbing had stopped, replaced by silence even more unsettling. Daniel checked his phone. 11:43 p.m. He glanced down the hall toward Emma's room, then back at the wall. He was reaching for his phone to text Maya when the knock came. 3 soft taps, barely audible over the rain. Daniel moved to the door, checking the peephole. Maya stood in the hallway, hugging herself, her face pale in the fluorescent light. She wasn't looking at the door. She was looking back toward her own apartment, like something might follow her out. Daniel unlocked the deadbolt and opened the door. Maya. "Can I stay here tonight?" The words rushed out in a whisper. "Please, Daniel, I can't go back there." She was shaking, not from cold, the hallway was warm, but from something deeper. Her eyes were red, makeup smeared down her cheeks. She wore yoga pants and an oversized sweatshirt, no shoes, just socks. Her phone was clutched in her right hand so tightly her knuckles were white. Daniel stepped back immediately. Of course. Come in. Maya slipped inside and he caught the smell of her perfume mixed with something else. Fear, maybe, or just the aftermath of tears. She stayed close to the door as he locked it, both the handle and the deadbolt, the sound of the metal sliding home making her shoulders drop slightly. Is Emma asleep? Maya asked, her voice still barely above a whisper. Yeah, out cold. Daniel moved toward the kitchen. Sit, please. I'll get you some water. Maya didn't sit. She stood in the middle of his living room, arms wrapped around herself, looking lost. Daniel's apartment was the mirror image of hers, same layout, same builder-grade finishes, but where hers was full of color and art and carefully chosen furniture, his was practical, comfortable couch, sturdy coffee table. Emma's toys and organized bins, bookshelves lined with thrillers and parenting guides. He returned with water and a glass of bourbon for himself. He had a feeling he'd need it. Maya had finally sat down on the edge of the couch, perched like she might need to run at any moment. Here, Daniel handed her the water and sat in the armchair across from her, giving her space. What happened? Maya took a sip, her hands trembling enough that water sloshed slightly. She stared at the glass for a long moment. I don't even know where to start, she said finally. Start anywhere. Or don't. You don't owe me an explanation. Daniel kept his voice calm, steady. You can just stay. It's okay. Something in her face cracked at that. The kindness, maybe, or the lack of pressure. She set the water down on the coffee table and covered her face with her hands. I'm so stupid, she said into her palms. I'm so incredibly stupid. You're not. I am. I didn't see it. Or I did. And I told myself I was imagining things, or that it would get better, or that I was being too sensitive. She dropped her hands, and Daniel saw the fear in her eyes clearly now. It's Ryan, my boyfriend. Or I guess he still is. I don't know. Daniel waited. He'd learned patience in the years since Sarah died, learned that sometimes people needed silence more than questions. Maya drew in a shaky breath. It started small. Little comments about what I was wearing, asking who I was texting all the time, getting annoyed if I made plans without checking with him first. I thought he was just invested, like he cared. When did you realize it wasn't that? About a month ago. I went to lunch with my friend Jess. We worked together at my old firm. Ryan called me 6 times during the meal. When I got home, he was angry that I hadn't answered, said I was disrespecting him, that if I cared about our relationship, I'd make him a priority. Daniel's jaw tightened, but he kept his expression neutral. After that, he wanted my phone password. Said couples shouldn't have secrets. I gave it to him because I thought, I don't know what I thought, that it would prove I had nothing to hide. She laughed bitterly. He went through everything, every message, every email, every photo. He asked about guys I hadn't talked to in years, got jealous of my male coworkers, started saying I dressed too provocatively for the office. Did you tell him to stop? I tried. Every time I pushed back, he'd flip it around, say I was being defensive because I was hiding something. Or he'd get quiet and sad and say he was just insecure because he loved me so much. He'd apologize, bring me flowers, promise to trust me more. Maya picked up the water again, taking another sip. And I'd believe him. For a few days it would be good again, and then something would trigger him, and we'd be right back there. Daniel had heard stories like this before, read articles, seen movies, but hearing it from Maya, seeing it in her shaking hands and red eyes, made it visceral, real. What happened tonight? Maya's face went pale. She set the water down and pulled her sleeves over her hands, a gesture so vulnerable it made Daniel's chest ache. I told him I wanted to grab coffee with you and Emma tomorrow, just casual, friendly. We used to talk about it. You mentioned Emma loves that bakery on Pike Street. She looked up at Daniel. He lost it, said I was obviously interested in you, that I'd been flirting with you since I moved in, that he'd seen the way I looked at you. Maya, I told him that was insane, that we're just friends, that I've known you since we were kids. He said that made it worse, that I had history with you, chemistry. He called me a liar, Said I was trying to make him look crazy. Her voice cracked. We fought for over an hour. He kept getting louder, angrier. I tried to leave the room and he blocked the door. Said we weren't done talking. Daniel's hands clenched around his glass. I finally got past him and locked myself in the bathroom. He stood outside yelling, saying I was being dramatic, that I always ran away when things got hard, that I was punishing him for caring. Maya's breathing had quickened, her words coming faster. I stayed in there until he got quiet. I thought maybe he'd calm down, so I came out. She stopped, swallowed hard. He was standing in the living room. I tried to apologize, to de-escalate. I said we could talk about boundaries, figure out a compromise. He just looked at me, and then he picked up his phone and threw it. Daniel went very still. At you? Near me. It hit the wall maybe 6 inches from my head. The case shattered, left a dent in the drywall. Maya's voice had gone flat, almost detached. He didn't apologize. He just said, "Look what you made me do." The rain seemed louder in the silence that followed. I grabbed my phone and told him I was leaving. He laughed, said I had nowhere to go, that I'd pushed away all my friends with my neediness, that my family was 3,000 miles away, that I'd come crawling back by morning. Maya met Daniel's eyes. That's when I left. I didn't grab anything else. I just walked out. I stood in the hallway for a long time trying to decide what to do. And then I came here. Daniel set down his bourbon and leaned forward, elbows on his knees. You did the right thing. Did I? Maybe I overreacted. Maybe... Maya. His voice was firm but gentle. He threw something at your head. That's not an overreaction. That's survival. She looked at him, eyes filling with tears again. I don't know what to do. I don't know how this happened. 6 months ago, he was perfect, charming and thoughtful and successful. Everyone loved him. My coworkers thought he was great. My mom said I'd finally found a good one. Abusers are great at seeming perfect, Daniel said quietly. That's how they get you. And once they have you, they show you who they really are, piece by piece, until you don't remember what your life looked like before them. Maya wiped her eyes. How do you know so much about this? My mom. She dated a guy like that when I was in high school. Took her 2 years to leave him. Daniel remembered those years. The eggshells, the tension, the relief when it finally ended. She told me once that the hardest part wasn't the leaving. It was admitting she'd been fooled, that someone she'd trusted had been hurting her the whole time. I feel so stupid. You're not stupid. You're human, and he's a manipulative asshole who saw someone good and decided to take advantage. Daniel stood. You're staying here tonight. Take my bed. I'll sleep on the couch. Daniel, I can't. You can. Emma will be thrilled to see you in the morning. We'll figure out the rest tomorrow. He moved toward the hallway closet, pulling out spare blankets and a pillow. Do you need anything? Something to sleep in? Toothbrush? Maya stood slowly. I have my phone charger in my pocket. That's it. I've got extra toothbrushes. Dentist keeps giving them to me. And Sarah's clothes are still in storage, but I have t-shirts that'll work. Daniel handed her the pillow. Bathroom's down the hall. Bedroom's the last door on the left. Lock it if it makes you feel safer. Will you hear if he comes over? The question was small, frightened. I'll hear, Daniel promised. And the door is locked. Both locks. You're safe here. Maya nodded, clutching the pillow to her chest. She started down the hall, then stopped and turned back. Thank you, she whispered. I didn't know where else to go. I'm glad you came here. She disappeared into the bedroom, and Daniel heard the soft click of the door closing. He stood in the living room for a moment, processing everything she'd told him, then moved to check the front door locks again. Both secure. He peered through the peephole. Empty hallway, quiet except for the rain. Daniel returned to the couch, spreading out the blanket. His bourbon sat on the coffee table, untouched. He picked it up and drained it in one swallow, the burn doing nothing to ease the anger coiling in his chest. He'd heard the fights through the wall. He'd seen the signs. And he'd done nothing. Not again. Daniel pulled out his phone and started researching. Domestic violence resources, safety planning, legal protections. He read until his eyes burned and his phone battery dropped to 15%, committing details to memory. Around 2 a.m., he finally lay down on the couch. Sleep didn't come easily. Every sound made him alert. The building settling, someone's footsteps in the apartment above, the rain shifting from steady to torrential and back again. Around 3, he heard Maya's door open. Footsteps in the hallway. The bathroom light clicked on. Water ran. After a few minutes, the light went off again, and her door closed. Daniel stared at the ceiling, thinking about Sarah. She'd been strong, fierce, independent, everything the world told women they should be, and she'd died anyway, her car hit by a drunk driver on a Tuesday afternoon. Random, senseless, leaving him with a 2-year-old in a grief so vast he sometimes still couldn't breathe around it. He'd learned to carry it, to be both parents, to fill the space Sarah had left, to build a life that Emma could thrive in. He'd learned that strength wasn't about never being afraid. It was about showing up anyway. Maya had shown up at his door tonight, afraid, vulnerable, trusting him with her safety. He wouldn't let her down. When Daniel finally slept, it was restless and dream-filled. He woke to pale morning light filtering through the living room windows and the sound of his bedroom door opening. Maya emerged wearing one of his old college t-shirts over her yoga pants, her hair pulled back, face scrubbed clean of yesterday's makeup. "Morning," she said softly. "Morning. How'd you sleep?" "Better than I expected. Your bed is comfortable." She moved into the kitchen. "Can I make coffee? I need to do something with my hands." "Please, filters are in the cabinet above the machine." Daniel folded the blanket while Maya worked through his kitchen with surprising familiarity. She'd been here enough times for girls' nights with Emma and casual dinners. The coffee maker burbled to life, filling the apartment with a rich, dark smell. "What time does Emma usually wake up?" Maya asked. "Anywhere from 7 to 8 on weekends. She's an early riser." Daniel checked his phone. 6:47 a.m. "We've got a little time." That's. Maya poured 2 mugs of coffee, adding cream to both. She remembered how he took it. They sat at the kitchen table, the same table where Daniel had been working when he first heard her crying through the wall. "I need to go back," Maya said. "To my apartment, to get my things." "When?" "Today, while Ryan's at work. He golfs on Sunday mornings, never misses it. Tees off at 9, usually doesn't finish until 2 or 3. She wrapped both hands around her mug. "I need my laptop, my clothes, my documents, everything that matters." "You're not going alone." "Daniel, you're not going alone," he repeated firmly. "I'll come with you. We'll get Emma to her grandmother's place for the day, and I'll help you pack." "What if he comes back early?" "Then I'll be there." Maya looked at him across the table, really looked at him, and something shifted in her expression. "You've changed. Since we were kids. You used to be so quiet, so careful." "Losing Sarah changed me. Having Emma changed me." Daniel took a sip of coffee. "You learn what matters, what's worth fighting for. I don't want you to get hurt because of me. I won't, and neither will you, not anymore." The bedroom door down the hall creaked open. Small footsteps padded toward them, and then Emma appeared in her pajamas, her blonde curls wild from sleep. She rubbed her eyes, then brightened when she saw Maya. "Maya, are you having breakfast with us?" Maya's whole face softened. "If that's okay." "Yes, can we have pancakes? Daddy makes really good pancakes." Daniel stood ruffling his daughter's hair. "Pancakes it is. Go wash your hands, kiddo." Emma scampered off, and Maya smiled for the first time since arriving. "She's gotten so big. She grows like a weed, keeps me busy." Daniel pulled out the pancake mix. "Which is good. Doesn't leave much time to think." "Do you still miss her, Sarah?" "Every day, but it's different now. Less sharp. More like an ache I've learned to carry." He measured out the mix, added water. "Emma asks about her sometimes. I show her photos, tell her stories, try to make sure she knows her mom was real, not just a concept." "That must be hard." "It is. But it's important." Daniel poured batter onto the hot griddle. "Emma deserves to know where she came from, who loved her from the beginning." They fell into comfortable silence, broken only by Emma's return and her cheerful chatter about a dream involving unicorns and a talking dog. Maya listened with genuine interest, asking questions, making Emma giggle. Watching them, Daniel felt something shift in his chest. This was what mattered. Not the consulting work or the carefully maintained routine. This moment, right here, keeping someone safe. Giving Emma a morning full of laughter instead of tension. After breakfast, while Emma watched cartoons, Daniel called his mother-in-law. Linda? Hey, it's Daniel. I have a favor to ask. Could Emma spend the day with you? Something came up. He listened to her response, shooting Maya an apologetic look. No, nothing bad, just need to help a friend. I'll drop her off in an hour? He hung up and turned to Maya. We've got until 5 p.m. That enough time? More than enough? I don't have that much. She stood, moving toward the window. Rain still streaked the glass. I can't believe I'm doing this. 6 months ago, I thought I'd found my person. Now I'm running away from him. You're not running away. You're running toward safety. There's a difference. Maya turned back to him. How did you get so wise? Trial and error. Mostly error. Daniel checked the time. Get ready. I'll drop Emma off, and then we'll handle this. An hour later, Emma was happily installed at her grandmother's with promises of baking cookies and watching movies. Daniel and Maya stood in the hallway outside her apartment, both of them silent. You have your key? Daniel asked. Maya held it up. Her hand was shaking again. Hey. Daniel touched her shoulder gently. I'm right here. We get in, we pack fast, we get out. Simple. What if he's there? Then we leave immediately and call the police. But he won't be. You said he never misses golf. Maya nodded, sliding the key into the lock. The apartment was silent when they entered. Dark. The curtains were drawn and the air smelled stale, old takeout and something bitter. The living room looked normal at first glance, but then Daniel saw the dent in the wall, the shattered phone case on the floor, the overturned lamp, signs of last night's fight. Start with the important stuff, Daniel said quietly. Documents, laptop, medications, then clothes and personal items. I'll grab boxes from your storage closet. They worked quickly and quietly. Maya moved through her apartment like a ghost, gathering pieces of her life. Her design portfolio, her grandmother's necklace, the painting she'd made in art school. Daniel found boxes and bags, packing efficiently, not commenting on the intimate glimpse into her life. He was in the bedroom, folding clothes into a suitcase, when Maya appeared in the doorway. Daniel! Something in her voice made him look up. She was holding her laptop, but her face had gone pale. He's been tracking me. I just opened my computer and saw the app. He installed tracking software on my laptop and my phone. He's been monitoring everything, my location, my messages, my emails. Daniel's jaw clenched. When did he install it? I don't know. Weeks ago, maybe? Months? Her hands were shaking again. He knew where I was every second, who I talked to, what I said, everything. We're getting you a new phone today, and we're wiping this laptop the second we're done here. They packed faster after that, urgency replacing caution. Daniel loaded boxes while Maya did a final sweep of the apartment, grabbing last essentials. They were almost done when Maya stopped in the middle of the living room. I should leave him a note. Tell him I'm done, that I won't be back. You don't owe him that. I know, but I need to say it, for me. She found paper and a pen, writing quickly. When she finished, she left the note on the kitchen counter, held down by a coffee mug. What did you write? Daniel asked. That I'm leaving, that our relationship is over, that he shouldn't contact me. Maya grabbed the last bag, and that if he tries, I'll file a restraining order. Good. They loaded everything into Daniel's car in 3 trips, moving fast, checking over their shoulders. The rain had started again, turning everything slick and gray. Maya took one last look at the building, then got into the passenger seat. That's it, she said quietly. Everything that mattered fit in your car. Daniel started the engine. Where to? I don't know. I can't go back to your place, not with everything. I can't afford a hotel long term, and I can't ask you— My storage unit, Daniel interrupted. It's climate-controlled secure. We can put everything there for now. Then you crash on my couch until we figure out next steps. Daniel, I can't impose. You're not imposing. You're accepting help from a friend. He pulled out of the parking lot. And tomorrow, we're getting you a lawyer. Maya was quiet for a long moment. Then, why are you doing this? Because you knocked on my door asking for help. And because I should have done something sooner. Daniel kept his eyes on the road. Because we were friends before life got complicated, and we're still friends now. Because it's the right thing to do. Is it that simple? It is for me. They drove through the rain-soaked streets, the car quiet except for the rhythmic swish of wipers. Maya stared out the window, and Daniel wondered what she was thinking. About Ryan. About the future. About how quickly a life could change. They unloaded at the storage unit in silence, stacking boxes in neat rows. Daniel's unit was half full of Sarah's things, clothes he couldn't donate, books she'd loved, photo albums from before Emma was born. He'd meant to sort through it all, but 3 years later, the boxes remained untouched. You kept everything, Maya said softly, looking at the neatly labeled containers. I couldn't let it go. Thought maybe Emma would want it someday. Or maybe I'm just a coward who can't face the past. You're not a coward. You're grieving. For 3 years? For as long as it takes. Maya touched one of the boxes labeled Sarah, books. There's no timeline for loss. Daniel locked the storage unit, unit, and they returned to his apartment. Emma wouldn't be back until 5, giving them a few hours of quiet. Maya collapsed on the couch, exhaustion written in every line of her body. I should let you rest, Daniel said. I don't want to rest. I want to feel normal. Can we just talk about nothing important? So they did. They talked about childhood memories, the summer they built a treehouse, the winter Daniel broke his arm sledding, the time Maya convinced him to sneak out to a concert, and they both got grounded for a month. They talked about college and career paths and all the ways life had pulled them in different directions. They didn't talk about Ryan or Sarah or fear. They just talked. Around 4, Maya's phone buzzed. She looked at it, and her face went white. It's him. Daniel moved closer. What does it say? Maya's hands were shaking as she read aloud. I know you're with him. This isn't over. You can't just walk away from us. We need to talk. I deserve that much. Block his number. What if that makes it worse? Maya. Daniel took the phone gently from her hands. What makes it worse is engaging. He wants a response, any response. Don't give him that power. Maya nodded, taking back her phone. She blocked Ryan's number with shaking fingers, then deleted his contact. What if he shows up here? Then we call the police, and we document everything. Daniel sat beside her on the couch. We're going to get through this. One step at a time. Tomorrow, we find you a lawyer who specializes in domestic violence cases. We file a restraining order. We make sure you're legally protected. And then what? Then you rebuild. On your terms. In your own time. Maya leaned her head on his shoulder, and Daniel led her. Outside, the rain continued to fall, washing the streets clean. Inside, something had shifted. A door had opened. A safe place had been offered and accepted. And for tonight, that was enough. The rain hadn't let up by Monday morning. Daniel stood at his kitchen counter, packing Emma's lunch while she sang to herself in her bedroom, oblivious to the tension that had settled over the apartment like a heavy blanket. Maya had spent Sunday night on his couch again, restless and jumping at every sound. He'd heard her pacing around 2 a.m., the soft padding of her feet on the hardwood, the creak of the refrigerator opening and closing. Now she sat at his kitchen table, laptop open, her third cup of coffee going cold beside her. She'd showered and dressed in clothes from the bags they'd retrieved, dark jeans and a simple sweater, but her hair was still damp, hanging loose around her shoulders. She looked tired, haunted. I can't focus, she said suddenly, staring at her screen. I've read this email 4 times and I still don't know what it says. Daniel glanced over. Work stuff? Yeah. My boss wants to know when I'm coming back to the office. I've been working remotely since Friday. Told him I had a family emergency. She rubbed her eyes. I can't keep avoiding it forever. You're not avoiding it. You're handling a crisis. Daniel zipped up Emma's lunchbox. Did you call any of those lawyers I sent you? I left messages with 3 of them. No callbacks yet. Maya closed her laptop with more force than necessary. This whole thing feels surreal, like I'm watching it happen to someone else. Emma bounded into the kitchen, backpack bouncing against her shoulders. Ready, Daddy? Almost, sweetheart. Go brush your teeth one more time. She groaned but complied, and Daniel heard the bathroom faucet turn on down the hall. He turned back to Maya, lowering his voice. You want me to stay home today? I can reschedule my client calls. No, you've already done too much. Maya managed a weak smile. I'll be fine. I need to get used to being alone again anyway. You're not alone. You're safe. There's a difference. Daniel grabbed his keys from the counter. Keep the door locked. Don't answer if someone knocks unless you're expecting them. And call me if anything feels off. You sound like a bodyguard. I sound like someone who cares. He checked his watch. I'll be back by 3. Emma's got dance class at 4, so we'll be in and out. You need anything while I'm gone? Maya shook her head, but Daniel saw the fear in her eyes. The same fear that had been there Saturday night. It hadn't faded. If anything, it had deepened, settling into her bones. He wanted to say something reassuring, something that would make it better. But he'd learned from Sarah's death that some things couldn't be fixed with words. You just had to show up and stay. After dropping Emma at school, Daniel drove through the rain-soaked streets toward his 10 a.m. meeting. He tried to focus on the presentation he'd prepared, the client notes he'd reviewed, but his mind kept drifting back to Maya, to the dent in her wall, to Ryan's text message, to the tracking software that had been monitoring her every move. His phone rang as he pulled into the parking garage. Unknown number. He answered anyway. Is this Daniel Ross? Speaking. Mr. Ross, this is Detective Sarah Chen with the Seattle Police Department. I'm calling about a complaint we received this morning. A Ryan Hale contacted us claiming his girlfriend, Maya Collins, has been missing since Saturday night. He believes she may have been coerced or taken against her will. He mentioned your name specifically. Daniel's hands tightened on the steering wheel. Maya isn't missing. She left him voluntarily after he assaulted her. Assaulted her? He threw his phone at her head. She came to my apartment for safety. She's been staying with me since Saturday night. Daniel kept his voice level, professional. She's an adult making her own choices. Ryan doesn't get to call the police because he lost control of his girlfriend. There was a pause. Mr. Ross, I appreciate the information. For the record, Ms. Collins hasn't been reported as a missing person. Mr. Hale called our non-emergency line expressing concern. But given what you've told me, I'd recommend Ms. Collins file a formal report about the assault. It creates a paper trail if she needs a protective order. I'm working on that. She's contacting lawyers today. Good. In the meantime, if Mr. Hale contacts you directly, don't engage. Document everything, but don't respond. It'll only escalate things. Daniel thanked her and hung up. His jaw clenched so tight it ached. Ryan was already trying to control the narrative, painting himself as the concerned boyfriend and Maya as the victim who needed rescuing. It was textbook manipulation, and it made Daniel's blood boil. He texted Maya immediately. Ryan called the police, said you were missing. Detective Chen called me to verify. You're fine, but you need to file a formal report about Saturday night, creating a paper trail. The response came within seconds. He what? Called the cops, playing the worried boyfriend. Don't respond to him if he contacts you. I'll explain everything when I get home. Daniel forced himself through the client meeting, presenting his marketing analysis with the kind of professional detachment he'd perfected over the past 3 years. His client was pleased, signing off on the next phase of work, but Daniel barely registered the victory. His mind was elsewhere. By the time he got home, it was almost 3. He found Maya exactly where he'd left her. At the kitchen table, laptop open, but now she was on the phone, her voice tight and controlled. Yes, I understand. Thursday at 2 p.m. I'll be there. Thank you. She hung up and looked at Daniel. That was Jennifer Morrison, one of the lawyers you recommended. She can see me Thursday. That's good. That's progress. Daniel set down his bag. Did you get my texts? About Ryan calling the police? Yeah. I've been sitting here trying not to panic. Maya stood, pacing toward the window. What if they believe him? What if they think I'm the problem? They won't. You're the victim here, and we have evidence. The dent in your wall, the shattered phone, the tracking software on your devices. Daniel moved closer. Did he try to contact you directly? 17 times. Calls, texts, even a voicemail. Maya pulled out her phone, showing him the blocked call log. I didn't answer any of them, but the voicemail, Daniel, you should hear it. She played the message on speaker. Ryan's voice filled the apartment, smooth and concerned, laced with just enough hurt to sound genuine. Maya, baby. I don't know what happened Saturday night. I know we fought, and I know I scared you. I'm so sorry. I never meant to make you feel unsafe. You know I would never hurt you, but you just left, and I've been losing my mind worrying about you. Please call me back. We can work this out. I love you. Whatever that guy is telling you, whatever he's convincing you of, it's not true. I just want to talk. That's all. Just talk. The message ended. Maya looked at Daniel with hollow eyes. He sounds so reasonable, she whispered, so worried and hurt, like I'm the one being unreasonable. That's the point. He's creating a version of events where he's the victim and you're the unstable girlfriend who overreacted. Daniel deleted the message from her phone. Don't listen to it again. Don't give him that space in your head. Emma's bus arrived right on schedule, and her cheerful energy shifted the apartment's atmosphere immediately. She hugged Maya like they hadn't seen each other in weeks, chattering about her day at school, the friend who'd shared her cookies at lunch, the art project they were starting tomorrow. Maya listened with genuine attention, asking questions, making Emma giggle. Daniel watched them from the kitchen, something warm and protective settling in his chest. This was good for both of them. Emma got another adult who cared about her, and Maya got a reminder that the world held more than fear and manipulation. After dance class, they picked up Thai food for dinner. Emma fell asleep on the couch halfway through a movie, exhausted from her day. Daniel carried her to bed while Maya cleaned up the takeout containers, moving through his kitchen with increasing familiarity. You don't have to do that, Daniel said when he returned. I want to. I need to feel useful. Maya rinsed the last plate, drying her hands on a towel. Can I ask you something? Of course. Why are you really doing this? And don't say it's because we're old friends or because it's the right thing. I need the real reason. Daniel was quiet for a moment, considering. They moved to the living room, sitting on opposite ends of the couch, the TV playing some sitcom on mute. When Sarah died, he began slowly, I was completely unprepared. One minute we were planning Emma's third birthday party, and the next minute I was identifying her body in a hospital morgue. There was no warning, no time to prepare. Just gone. Maya listened, her eyes never leaving his face. The months after were the worst of my life. I had a toddler who kept asking when mommy was coming home, and I didn't know how to answer. I had people offering help, but I was too proud, too scared, too angry to accept it. I thought I had to handle everything alone because that's what men do, right? We're supposed to be strong and stoic and unbreakable. Daniel, I almost broke, completely. There were days I couldn't get out of bed, and if it wasn't for Emma needing me, I don't know what would have happened. He looked at her directly. The people who saved me were the ones who didn't ask permission to help. They just showed up. Sarah's mom took Emma for days at a time so I could sleep. My neighbor brought groceries every week without being asked. My friend Tom came over every Sunday and forced me to talk, even when I didn't want to. So you're paying it forward. I'm doing what was done for me. I'm showing up. Daniel leaned back against the couch. And yeah, we're old friends, but more than that, you trusted me enough to knock on my door when you were terrified. That means something. It means I don't get to half-ass this. I'm all in until you're safe and stable and ready to handle it on your own. Maya's eyes were wet. I don't deserve this. Yes, you do. Everyone deserves a safe place to land. She wiped her eyes, laughing softly. When did you become so wise? Trauma and therapy. Highly recommend both. Daniel smiled. Come on, it's late. You need sleep. But sleep didn't come easily for either of them. Daniel lay on the couch in the dark, listening to Maya toss and turn in his bedroom. Around midnight, he heard her get up, heard the familiar sound of the refrigerator opening, the clink of a glass being filled. He found her standing at the kitchen window, looking out at the rain-streaked darkness, a glass of water in her hands. Can't sleep? He asked quietly. Every time I close my eyes, I see him, hear him. Maya took a sip of water. What if he shows up here? What if he hurts you or Emma trying to get to me? He won't, and if he tries, we're prepared. Daniel stood beside her at the window. You're catastrophizing. Your brain is trying to protect you by imagining every worst-case scenario. But right now, in this moment, you're safe. Emma's safe. I'm safe. Focus on that. Is that what your therapist taught you? Among other things, mindfulness, grounding techniques, all that stuff I thought was nonsense until it actually worked. He turned to face her. Want to know what helped me most? What? Routine. Boring, predictable routine. When everything felt chaotic and terrifying, I could control small things. Making Emma's lunch the same way every day. Coffee at 7 a.m. Reading 3 chapters before bed. It gave me anchors when I felt like I was drowning. Maya set down her glass. I don't have a routine anymore. Everything's upside down. So we build you a new one starting tomorrow. Daniel counted on his fingers. Wake up at 7, coffee, shower, work, walk around the block at lunch for fresh air, dinner at 6, TV or reading, bed by 11. Simple, manageable, yours. Just like that? Just like that. It won't fix everything, but it'll give you something to hold on to. They stood there in the dark kitchen, the only light coming from the street lamps outside. Maya looked at him with something Daniel couldn't quite identify. Gratitude, maybe, or trust. Or maybe just exhaustion so deep she'd stopped questioning the kindness being offered. Thank you, she said finally. For all of this. For not making me feel weak or stupid or like a burden. You're none of those things. You're surviving. That takes more strength than most people will ever understand. Maya moved closer, and for a moment Daniel thought she might hug him, but she just squeezed his arm briefly, a gesture of connection and appreciation, then headed back to the bedroom. Daniel stood at the window alone, watching the rain fall on Seattle's empty streets, and wondered how this would end. Would Ryan give up? Would Maya heal and move on? Would life eventually return to some version of normal? He didn't have answers. All he had was tomorrow, and the day after that, and the commitment to keep showing up until Maya didn't need him to anymore. The rest of the week followed a pattern. Daniel worked from home when possible, keeping Maya company, helping her establish the routine they'd discussed. She met with Jennifer Morrison on Thursday, coming back to his apartment with a folder full of paperwork and a restraining order application already filed. She was amazing, Maya told Daniel, her voice stronger than it had been in days. Didn't judge me once. Just listened, took notes, explained my options. She thinks we have a solid case for a protection order. The tracking software alone is enough, plus the assault, plus the pattern of controlling behavior. When's the hearing? Next Wednesday. I have to testify. Ryan will be there. Her confidence wavered. I'll have to face him. You won't be alone. I'll be there. Jennifer will be there, and you're stronger than you think. But Ryan wasn't waiting for the court date. On Friday night, he made his move. Daniel was helping Emma with her homework at the kitchen table when his phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. He opened it, and his blood went cold. I know she's with you. Tell her we need to talk. This is between me and Maya. Stay out of it, or you'll regret it. He showed Maya, who had gone pale. He's using a different number, probably a burner phone. She took a shaky breath. What do we do? We screenshot this, send it to Jennifer, and add it to the evidence file. Daniel was already typing. And we don't respond. He wants engagement. We don't give it to him. Emma looked up from her math worksheet. What's wrong? Nothing, sweetheart, just grown-up stuff. Daniel forced a smile. How about ice cream after dinner? But an hour later, there was a knock at the door. 3 sharp raps, demanding and aggressive. Daniel looked through the peephole and saw Ryan standing in the hallway, dressed in an expensive suit, his expression cold. Maya, Ryan shouted, I know you're in there. We need to talk. Emma looked scared. Maya had frozen on the couch, her face drained of color. Daniel made a quick decision. Emma, go to your room, close the door, and put on your headphones. Pick any song you want, okay? But Daddy, now, sweetheart, please. She obeyed, and Daniel heard her door close. He turned to Maya. Stay here. Don't say anything. Daniel opened the door but kept the chain lock engaged, leaving only a few inches of space. Ryan's cologne was overpowering, his jaw tight with barely controlled anger. You need to leave, Daniel said calmly. I need to talk to my girlfriend. This is none of your business. She's not your girlfriend anymore. She doesn't want to see you. You need to leave. Ryan's eyes narrowed. What did you tell her? What lies did you feed her about me? I didn't tell her anything. She made her own decision based on your behavior. Daniel kept his voice level. You have 5 seconds to leave before I call the police. You think you can just take her from me? She's confused. You're taking advantage of her vulnerability. Ryan's voice rose. Maya, baby, please just talk to me. 5 minutes. That's all I'm asking. From behind Daniel, Maya's voice came out stronger than he expected. Go away, Ryan. We're done. Leave me alone. Ryan's face twisted with rage. He slammed his palm against the door, making the chain rattle. You're making a mistake. You think he cares about you? He's just some pathetic widower looking for someone to fix. You'll come crawling back in a week. Daniel pulled out his phone, dialing 911 without breaking eye contact. This is Daniel Ross at 412 Pine Street, apartment 3B. There's a man harassing me and my guest, refusing to leave. He's already assaulted the woman he's looking for. We need police assistance immediately. Ryan's expression shifted from anger to calculation. He stepped back from the door, smoothing his suit. This isn't over, he said quietly. Tell Maya she can't hide forever. He turned and walked down the hallway. Daniel watched through the peephole until Ryan disappeared into the stairwell, then closed and locked the door. His hands were shaking. Maya stood in the middle of the living room, arms wrapped around herself. I'm so sorry. I brought this to your home, to Emma. You didn't bring this, he did. And now we have another piece of evidence. Daniel was already texting Jennifer Morrison. Witness harassment before a court date. He's digging his own grave. The police arrived 10 minutes later, taking statements from both Daniel and Maya. They couldn't arrest Ryan based on what had happened, but they filed a report documenting the harassment. The officer who took Maya's statement was gentle but direct. Ma'am, guys like this don't stop until they're forced to stop. The restraining order hearing next week is critical. You need to show the judge exactly who he is, controlling, manipulative, willing to violate boundaries. This visit tonight helps your case. After the police left, Daniel checked on Emma. She was curled up in bed, headphones on, oblivious to the drama that had unfolded. He kissed her forehead and returned to the living room. Maya was crying silently on the couch, shoulders shaking. Daniel sat beside her, not touching, just present. I hate this, she whispered. I hate being scared. I hate feeling weak. I hate that he still has this power over me. He doesn't have power, he has desperation. There's a difference. Daniel handed her a tissue. You stood up to him tonight. You told him to leave. That took courage. It didn't feel like courage. It felt like terror. Courage is being terrified and doing it anyway. That's exactly what you did. Maya wiped her eyes, looking at Daniel with something raw and honest in her expression. What if the judge doesn't grant the restraining order? What if Ryan convinces them I'm overreacting? Then we appeal. We fight harder. We don't give up. Daniel met her gaze. You're not alone in this, Maya. Whatever happens next week, we face it together. She leaned against him, and this time Daniel put his arm around her shoulders, offering comfort without expectation. They sat that way for a long time, the apartment quiet except for the rain and the distant sounds of the city. Outside, somewhere in Seattle, Ryan was planning his next move. But inside Daniel's apartment, Maya was learning something she'd forgotten over the past 6 months, that safety wasn't about being strong enough to handle everything alone. It was about trusting the right people to stand beside you when the world felt impossible. And for the first time since Saturday night, she let herself believe that maybe, just maybe, she would survive this. The weekend passed in a strange state of heightened awareness. Every footstep in the hallway made Maya tense. Every car door slamming outside sent her to the window. Daniel watched her cycle through fear and determination and exhaustion, never quite settling into any one emotion for long. He understood it better than she knew. The months after Sarah's death had been the same, existing in a constant state of waiting for the next terrible thing, unable to trust that the world would hold steady beneath his feet. On Sunday afternoon, Maya's cousin Priya arrived from Portland. Daniel heard them before he saw them, Priya's voice carrying through the hallway, fierce and protective, already planning Ryan's downfall in colorful detail. She swept into the apartment like a force of nature, pulling Maya into a hug so tight it looked painful. I should have come sooner, Priya said, finally releasing Maya. The second you told me about him, I should have driven up here and dragged you out myself. You couldn't have known it would get this bad. Maya gestured toward Daniel, who was giving them space in the kitchen. Priya, this is Daniel, my neighbor and apparently my guardian angel. Priya turned her assessment on him, dark eyes sharp and evaluating. She was small but formidable, wearing ripped jeans and a leather jacket, her black hair pulled into a high ponytail. You're the one who's been keeping her safe. I'm the one who had a spare couch, Daniel said. Don't be modest. Maya told me everything. Priya moved closer, extending her hand. Thank you for being there when she needed someone. Not everyone would have done that. They shook hands, and Daniel saw where Maya got her strength from. It was in Priya's grip, in the set of her jaw, in the way she positioned herself between Maya and the door like a human shield. I came to help with the apartment situation, Priya said, turning back to Maya. We're getting the rest of your stuff tomorrow while that psycho is at work. I borrowed my boyfriend's truck. We'll be in and out in an hour. Maya's face showed relief and anxiety in equal measure. What if he's there? What if he changed his schedule? Then we leave and call the cops. But he won't be there. Guys like Ryan are creatures of habit. They need control and predictability. Priya pulled out her phone, showing them a screenshot. I've been monitoring his Instagram. He posted from the gym this morning at 6 a.m., same as every Sunday. He's not deviating from his routine because that would mean admitting he's lost control. Daniel was impressed despite himself. You've been tracking him? Know your enemy. Sun Tzu said that. Or maybe it was my mom. Either way, it's good advice. Priya sat on the couch, pulling Maya down beside her. We're also changing your locks, installing a Ring camera, and getting you pepper spray and a personal alarm. I don't care what the restraining order says, we're taking every precaution. The hearing's Wednesday, Maya said quietly. What if the judge doesn't grant it? They will. I've seen the evidence. The tracking software, the harassment, showing up at Daniel's door. It's textbook domestic abuse. Any judge with half a brain will grant the order. Priya squeezed Maya's hand. And if they don't, we go to the media. I have friends at the Seattle Times who would love to write about how the courts failed a domestic violence victim. Daniel excused himself to check on Emma, who was playing in her room, giving the cousins space to talk. He could hear their voices through the wall, Priya's fierce and planning, Maya's softer but growing stronger. It was good for her, having family here. It reminded Daniel of how Sarah's family had surrounded him after her death, creating a buffer between him and the world until he could stand on his own again. When he returned, Priya was on her feet, pacing as she talked. Tomorrow morning, 9 a.m., Ryan will be at his office. I verified with his LinkedIn that he has a meeting scheduled. We go in, grab everything, and get out. Maya's lease is month to month, so we give notice, and she's done with that place forever. Where will I go after? Maya asked. I can't stay on Daniel's couch forever. You'll stay with me in Portland until you figure things out. Or you can find a new place here if you want to stay in Seattle. Point is, you have options. You're not trapped. Priya looked at Daniel. Unless you want her to keep crashing here? I mean, this setup seems to be working. Daniel felt Maya's eyes on him. She can stay as long as she needs. I meant what I said. I'm all in until she's ready to handle it on her own. Something shifted in Maya's expression, but before she could respond, Emma appeared in the doorway, clutching her favorite stuffed rabbit. Daddy, I'm hungry. Can we have dinner soon? Of course, sweetheart. Want to help me make spaghetti? Emma nodded enthusiastically, and Priya immediately volunteered to help. The kitchen filled with their voices and laughter, Emma delighted to have another adult paying attention to her, Priya charming her with stories about Maya as a child. They cooked together, the four of them moving around the small kitchen with surprising ease, and for a few hours it felt almost normal. After dinner, Priya left to check into her hotel, promising to return early in the morning. Maya helped Daniel clean up while Emma watched a movie, and the apartment settled into its evening quiet. Your cousin is terrifying in the best possible way, Daniel said, drying dishes. Maya laughed, the sound lighter than it had been in days. She's always been like that, fearless. When we were kids, she beat up a boy 2 grades older for calling me ugly, got suspended for a week and didn't regret it once. Remind me never to get on her bad side. Too late. She already loves you. I can tell. Maya handed him another plate. She texted me while you were putting Emma to bed. Said if I didn't appreciate what you're doing, she'd kick my ass. Sounds about right. Daniel put away the last dish, turning to face her. How are you feeling about tomorrow? Terrified. Relieved. Angry. Maya leaned against the counter. I keep thinking about all the things I left behind. Photos, books, my grandmother's quilt. Things that mattered. And I'm going back to get them from the place where he hurt me. You don't have to go in. Priya and I can handle it. No, I need to do this. I need to prove to myself that he doesn't own that space anymore. That I can walk in and take what's mine and leave without falling apart. She met his eyes. Will you come? Both of you? Absolutely. We'll be right there with you. That night, Daniel lay awake on the couch, thinking about the next day. He'd been in situations like this before, helping his mother move out of her ex-boyfriend's place, his hands shaking with adrenaline and rage. He remembered the way his mother had moved through those rooms like a ghost, taking only what she could carry, leaving behind anything that would cause conflict. He'd been 17 and furious, wanting to break things, to make the man hurt the way he'd hurt his mother. His mother had put a hand on his shoulder and said, "Violence only gives him power. We take our dignity and our freedom. That's the real victory." It had taken him years to understand what she meant, but now, helping Maya, he got it. The victory wasn't in confrontation or revenge. It was in walking away with your head high and your life your own. Morning came too quickly. Priya arrived at 8:30, truck parked in the loading zone, ready for action. She'd brought coffee and breakfast sandwiches, passing them around like a general distributing rations before battle. Emma was with Linda again, happily baking cookies and oblivious to the tension in the adults' faces. They drove to Maya's old apartment in near silence, Priya's truck rumbling through Seattle's morning traffic. Daniel sat in the back, watching Maya's profile as she stared out the window. She was wearing jeans and a sweatshirt, her hair pulled back, no makeup, armor stripped away, ready to face her past. The building looked different in daylight, less menacing, more mundane, just another apartment complex in a city full of them. Priya parked in front, and they sat there for a moment, nobody moving. "He's not there," Priya said, checking her phone. "His Instagram story shows him at the office 20 minutes ago. We're clear." Maya took a deep breath and opened her door. They climbed the stairs in formation, Priya leading, Maya in the middle, Daniel bringing up the rear. The hallway smelled like someone's breakfast cooking, normal and domestic. Maya's hands shook as she unlocked her apartment door. Inside, everything looked exactly as they'd left it the previous Sunday. The dent in the wall, the shattered phone case still on the floor. But there was something else now. New locks on the bedroom door, a chair wedged under the handle from the inside. Ryan had been here, had made changes, had tried to secure what he thought was still his. "Bastard changed the locks," Priya said, examining the bedroom door. "Maya, you have a screwdriver?" Kitchen drawer. While Priya worked on removing the bedroom door handle, Daniel and Maya started in the living room. She moved methodically, pointing out what mattered. Photo albums, her design portfolio, a painting her mother had given her. Daniel packed efficiently, wrapping fragile items in newspaper, stacking boxes in the truck. Priya got the bedroom door open, and Maya disappeared inside. Daniel heard drawers opening, the closet sliding, the soft sounds of someone gathering the pieces of a dismantled life. He kept packing, keeping one ear trained for any sound in the hallway, any sign that Ryan had been wrong about his schedule. They were almost done when Maya emerged from the bedroom, carrying a small wooden box. Her face had gone pale. "He kept them," she whispered. "All the texts I deleted, the photos I asked him to erase. He printed them out and kept them in this box like trophies." Priya took the box, flipping through its contents, her expression darkening with each item. "This is evidence. This shows premeditation, obsession. We're taking this straight to Jennifer." "He was building a case against me," Maya said, her voice hollow. "All those times he said he'd forgiven me for some imagined slight. He was documenting it, saving it, planning for this." Daniel moved to her side. "Which means we're doing the right thing. A healthy person doesn't do this. A safe person doesn't do this." They worked faster after that, urgency replacing careful consideration. Priya found more evidence, a journal where Ryan had logged Maya's movements, her conversations, her supposed infractions. It was chilling in its detail, obsessive in its focus. Every entry began the same way. Today, Maya disrespected me by 10:30, they had everything that mattered loaded in the truck. Maya did a final walkthrough, her footsteps echoing in the now empty rooms. She stopped at the dent in the wall, touching it lightly with her fingers. "I'll never forget this moment," she said quietly. The sound of his phone hitting the wall, the look in his eyes, the realization that I wasn't safe. "But you survived it," Daniel said from the doorway, "and you're never coming back here." Maya nodded, leaving her keys on the kitchen counter, along with a written notice terminating her lease. They locked the door for the last time and headed down the stairs. Daniel was loading the last box when he saw it, Ryan's BMW pulling into the parking lot. "He's here," Daniel said sharply. Priya was already moving, positioning herself between the truck and Ryan's approaching figure. Maya froze on the sidewalk, her face draining of color. Daniel moved to her side, not touching but close enough to be a physical barrier. Ryan climbed out of his car, dressed in a suit despite it being Monday morning. His expression was calm, controlled, but his eyes were cold. "Maya," he said, his voice smooth. "What are you doing?" "I'm getting my things. I told you we're done." Maya's voice shook but held. "You need to leave." "This is my parking lot. I have every right to be here." Ryan stepped closer, and Priya moved to block him. He looked at her with disdain. "And who are you?" "Her cousin, her witness, and the person who's about to call the cops if you take one more step." Priya had her phone out, already dialing. "You were ordered to stay away from her at Friday's incident. This is violation of that order." "There's no restraining order yet. The hearing's Wednesday, remember?" Ryan's smile didn't reach his eyes. "Until then, I can go wherever I want. This happens to be where I live." "You don't live here," Maya said, finding strength in Priya's presence. "You live downtown. You're only here to intimidate me." "I'm here because I want to talk to my girlfriend about why she's stealing my property." "Nothing in that truck is yours," Daniel said, his voice level but hard. "Everything belongs to Maya. We have receipts to prove it if needed." Ryan's attention shifted to Daniel, assessing. The knight in shining armor. How noble. "Tell me, Ross, are you sleeping with her yet, or are you still playing the sympathetic friend?" Daniel felt Priya's hand on his arm, a warning. He kept his voice calm. "We're leaving. Step aside." "Not until Maya and I talk. Alone." Ryan looked past both of them to Maya. 5 minutes? That's all I'm asking. You owe me that much." "I don't owe you anything," Maya said, her voice stronger now. "You hurt me. You controlled me. You made me afraid in my own home. I owe you nothing." Something flickered in Ryan's expression. Rage, maybe, or the realization that his usual tactics weren't working. "You're making a mistake. You think these people care about you. They're using you. He's using you, the sad widower with the sob story, playing on your sympathy. How long before he's telling you about his dead wife and guilting you into his bed?" Priya stepped forward, and Daniel had to admire her restraint. "We're documenting this. Everything you're saying right now, the harassment, the manipulation, the intimidation, it's all going to the judge on Wednesday." Ryan's laugh was bitter. "You think a judge will care? I'm a successful businessman with no criminal record. She's an unstable woman who ran away from a minor argument and is now making wild accusations. Who do you think they'll believe?" "The one with evidence," Priya said, holding up her phone. Tracking software, documented harassment, threats, obsessive journals logging her every move, a box full of deleted photos and texts you kept like 6 souvenirs. "You really think any of that makes you look good?" Ryan's composure cracked. "You went through my private property. That's illegal. It was in Maya's apartment, which makes it her property. Try again." Priya was enjoying this now, Daniel could tell. "You know what I think? I think you're scared. The control is slipping, and you can't handle it. So you're here, making threats, hoping to intimidate her back into submission, but it's not going to work." Ryan's jaw clenched. He looked at Maya again, and his voice dropped, becoming softer, more vulnerable. "Baby, please. I know I messed up. I know I scared you, but we can fix this. We can go to counseling, work on communication. I love you. Don't throw away 6 months because of one bad night. It was masterful manipulation. The shift from aggression to pleading, the use of we and us, the minimization of his violence as one bad night. Daniel saw Maya waver, saw the old patterns trying to reassert themselves. No, Maya said, her voice clear. It wasn't one bad night. It was 6 months of you slowly taking away my freedom, my confidence, my sense of self. It was weeks of walking on eggshells, wondering what would set you off. It was you throwing a phone at my head and blaming me for it. That's not love. That's abuse. Ryan's face hardened. You'll regret this. When you're alone and realize what you've lost, she won't be alone, Daniel said quietly. She has family. She has friends. She has people who actually care about her well-being instead of their own ego. And she has a restraining order hearing on Wednesday where all of this gets presented to a judge, Priya added. So unless you want to add more evidence to our pile, I suggest you get in your car and leave. For a long moment, Ryan didn't move. He stood there, face rigid with barely controlled fury, looking between the three of them. Then he pulled out his phone, typing something quickly. I just emailed my lawyer, he said. She'll be at that hearing. We'll see how well your evidence holds up under cross-examination. He turned and walked back to his car, movement stiff and deliberate. They watched him drive away, nobody speaking until his BMW disappeared around the corner. Maya's knees buckled, and Daniel caught her before she hit the ground. She wasn't crying. She was shaking, adrenaline and relief and delayed fear hitting all at once. You did it, Priya said, kneeling beside them. Maya, you stood up to him. You told him the truth. You were amazing. I thought I was going to throw up, Maya said, her voice muffled against Daniel's shoulder. I thought I was going to cave and apologize and go back to him. But you didn't. You stayed strong. Daniel helped her to her feet. Come on, let's get out of here. They drove to a storage facility Priya had rented, unloading Maya's belongings into a climate-controlled unit. It took 2 hours and multiple trips, but finally everything was secure. Maya locked the unit, pocketing the key, and they stood there in the fluorescent hallway, exhausted and victorious. Lunch, Priya declared. We're getting the biggest, greasiest burgers Seattle has to offer, and we're celebrating the fact that Maya is officially free of that psychopath. They found a diner near the waterfront, sliding into a red vinyl booth. The waitress brought coffee and menus, and for a few minutes, they just sat there, letting the adrenaline drain away. He recorded our confrontation, Maya said suddenly. Did you see him on his phone? He was documenting everything we said. Good, Priya said. Let him. We were calm, reasonable, and within our rights. He was the one making threats and manipulating. If he wants to show that recording to a judge, let him. It'll only help our case. Daniel stirred sugar into his coffee, thinking about Ryan's performance. The smooth transitions between aggression and vulnerability. The careful word choices designed to make Maya doubt herself. He'd seen it before, that particular brand of manipulation. It was textbook narcissistic abuse, the gaslighting, the Darvo tactics, the obsessive need for control. What if he's right? Maya asked quietly. What if the judge believes him over me? Then we appeal. We find another judge. We keep fighting. Priya reached across the table, taking Maya's hand. But he won't win. The evidence is too strong, and you're too brave. I don't feel brave. Brave people never do. They just do what needs to be done despite being terrified. Daniel set down his coffee. You walked into that apartment, faced your abuser, took what was yours, and walked away. That's courage. That's strength. The food arrived, and they ate in comfortable silence. Daniel watched Maya slowly relax, her shoulders dropping, her breathing evening out. Priya kept up a steady stream of stories about their childhood, making Maya laugh despite everything. It was healing, this small moment of normalcy amid the chaos. After lunch, they picked up Emma from Linda's. She bounded out to the truck, covered in flour and chocolate, talking a mile a minute about the cookies she'd helped bake. Can Maya try one? I saved her the biggest one. Emma held up a slightly misshapen chocolate chip cookie with obvious pride. Maya took it solemnly, biting into it with exaggerated delight. This is the best cookie I've ever had. Emma beamed, and Daniel felt something warm settle in his chest. This was what mattered. Not the confrontation with Ryan or the upcoming court date. This moment of a child sharing cookies with someone who needed sweetness in her life. They returned to Daniel's apartment, Priya insisting on staying through Wednesday's hearing. She sat up on the couch, turning the living room into her temporary command center, organizing evidence and preparing Maya for what to expect in court. The judge will ask you direct questions, Priya explained, papers spread across the coffee table. You need to answer clearly and specifically. Don't minimize what happened. Don't apologize for being scared. Just tell the truth. Maya nodded, taking notes. Daniel watched from the kitchen, impressed by Priya's thoroughness. She'd clearly done this before, or at least researched extensively. Every question Maya might face had a prepared answer. Every piece of evidence had a specific purpose. Jennifer Morrison called that evening, her voice professional but warm. I reviewed the new evidence you sent. The journal entries, the box of deleted materials. It's damning. This significantly strengthens our case. What about Ryan's lawyer? Maya asked, speakerphone on so Priya and Daniel could hear. He said he's bringing representation. Let him. It doesn't change the facts. We have documentation, witnesses, and a clear pattern of escalating abuse. His lawyer can spin it however they want. The evidence speaks for itself. Jennifer paused. How are you holding up? I'm okay. Scared, but okay. That's normal. Facing your abuser in court is terrifying, but remember, you're not asking for anything unreasonable. You're asking for safety. The legal system is designed to protect people in your situation. Trust the process. After the call ended, Maya looked at Priya and Daniel with exhausted eyes. What if I freeze up in there? What if I can't answer the questions? Then you take a breath and try again, Priya said. The judge isn't there to trick you. They want the truth. Just give it to them. Daniel added, and we'll be right there in the courtroom. You won't be alone. The next 2 days passed in a blur of preparation and routine. Maya practiced her testimony with Priya, went through her evidence with Jennifer, and tried to maintain some semblance of normal life. She worked remotely, attended virtual meetings, cooked dinner with Daniel and Emma. But underneath it all was the constant awareness of Wednesday looming, the hearing that would determine her safety. Tuesday night, none of them slept well. Daniel heard Priya and Maya talking quietly in the living room until past midnight, their voices a low murmur of support and strategy. He lay in Emma's room, having given up his bedroom to the cousins, and thought about tomorrow, about sitting in that courtroom, watching Maya face down her abuser under the eyes of the law. He'd never been to a restraining order hearing before, didn't know what to expect, but he knew he'd be there, and that had to count for something. Wednesday morning arrived gray and drizzling, typical Seattle weather for a day that felt anything but typical. They dressed carefully, Maya in a simple dress and cardigan, Priya in slacks and a blazer, Daniel in the suit he usually reserved for client presentations. Emma stayed with Linda again, blissfully unaware of the stakes. The courthouse was downtown, all marble and security checkpoints. They met Jennifer in the lobby, and she walked them through what would happen. The judge would hear Maya's petition, review the evidence, allow Ryan to respond, and make a ruling. Simple in theory, terrifying in practice. He'll try to make you look unstable, Jennifer warned as they rode the elevator up. His strategy will be to paint himself as the reasonable one and you as overreacting. Don't let him bait you. Stay calm. Stick to facts. Tell your truth. The courtroom was smaller than Daniel expected. Wood paneling, fluorescent lights, rows of benches mostly empty. Ryan was already there with his lawyer, a sharp-looking woman in an expensive suit. He looked calm, professional, every inch the successful businessman. When he saw Maya enter, something flickered across his face. Satisfaction, maybe, or anticipation. They sat on opposite sides of the courtroom, Maya between Jennifer and Priya, Daniel directly behind them. Ryan kept glancing over, and each time Daniel met his eyes steadily until Ryan looked away. The judge entered, and everyone stood. She was older, gray-haired, with an expression that suggested she'd seen everything and wasn't easily fooled. Daniel hoped that was true. Case number 47B, the clerk announced. Maya Collins versus Ryan Hale, petition for protective order. Jennifer stood, presenting their case with clinical precision, the tracking software, the controlling behavior, the assault, the harassment. Each piece of evidence was entered, documented, made official. Maya testified, her voice shaking at first but growing stronger as she recounted the relationship's deterioration. the fear that had become her constant companion. Ryan's lawyer cross-examined, trying to poke holes in the timeline, suggesting Maya had misinterpreted loving concern as control. But Maya held firm, answering each question with simple truth. Then it was Ryan's turn. He took the stand with practiced ease, his voice reasonable and pained. He admitted they'd had arguments, but characterized them as normal relationship conflicts. He explained the tracking software as something Maya had agreed to for their mutual safety. He called the phone-throwing incident an accident, a moment of frustration where his aim had been off. It was a masterclass in manipulation, and Daniel saw the judge's expression remain carefully neutral. Impossible to tell what she was thinking. When both sides had presented, the judge leaned back, reviewing her notes. The courtroom was silent except for the rain against the windows and the soft scratch of her pen. Finally, she looked up. "Mr. Hale," she said, "I've reviewed the evidence presented, and I find several elements deeply concerning." Ryan's posture shifted almost imperceptibly, his lawyer's hand tightening on her pen. Daniel felt Maya go rigid in front of him, her breathing shallow and quick. The judge continued, her voice measured but firm. The tracking software installed without clear ongoing consent, the documented pattern of isolating Ms. Collins from her support network, the journals logging her movements and perceived infractions. These are not the actions of someone concerned for a partner's safety. These are the actions of someone seeking to maintain control. The judge looked directly at Ryan. Your characterization of the phone-throwing incident as an accident is contradicted by Ms. Collins' testimony and the physical evidence. A phone thrown hard enough to dent drywall is not a casual toss gone wrong. Ryan's jaw tightened, but he said nothing. Furthermore, your appearance at Ms. Collins' former residence on Monday morning, despite knowing she was there to retrieve her belongings, demonstrates a continued pattern of harassment and intimidation. The text messages from unknown numbers, the visit to Mr. Ross's apartment, all of this paints a clear picture of escalating behavior. The judge set down her pen. I'm granting the protective order for a period of 2 years. Mr. Hale, you are to have no contact with Mrs. Collins, directly or indirectly. No phone calls, no texts, no emails, no social media contact. You are to stay at least 500 feet away from her residence, her workplace, and any location where you know she will be present. Violation of this order will result in immediate arrest and criminal charges. Do you understand? Your Honor, Ryan started, but his lawyer put a hand on his arm. My client understands, the lawyer said smoothly. The judge turned to Maya. Ms. Collins, I want you to keep documenting any attempts at contact. Save messages, take screenshots, record incidents. If Mr. Hale violates this order in any way, contact the police immediately. This court takes domestic violence seriously, and we will enforce this order to its fullest extent. Maya's voice was barely audible. Thank you, Your Honor. The gavel came down, sharp and final. The hearing was over. Jennifer gathered her papers with efficient satisfaction while Priya pulled Maya into a fierce hug. Daniel sat very still, watching Ryan across the courtroom. He expected anger, maybe defiance. Instead, Ryan's expression was calculating, already planning his next move even as his lawyer whispered urgently in his ear. They filed out of the courtroom into the marble hallway. Maya was shaking, tears streaming down her face, but she was laughing too, relief and disbelief mixing into something almost manic. 2 years, she kept saying. 2 years of safety. 2 years of him not being able to touch me. 2 years for you to rebuild your life, Jennifer corrected gently. And if he violates the order even once, we can extend it and add criminal charges. He knows that. His lawyer made sure he knows that. Priya was already on her phone, texting everyone in her contact list who'd been worried about Maya. Daniel stood slightly apart, giving them space to celebrate, but his eyes kept drifting back to the courtroom doors. Ryan and his lawyer emerged 5 minutes later, Ryan's expression carefully blank. He saw Maya, saw her surrounded by support, and something ugly flashed across his face before he schooled it back to neutrality. He walked past without a word, his lawyer keeping pace beside him, heels clicking against marble. They disappeared into an elevator, and only then did Daniel feel his shoulders relax. Let's get out of here, he said quietly. They went to the same diner where they'd had lunch after retrieving Maya's things, sliding into the same booth like it was becoming their victory spot. Jennifer joined them this time, ordering coffee and pie, explaining the next steps with the calm competence that made her excellent at her job. The order will be formally filed today. Ryan will be served a copy by a process server, probably within the next 24 hours. Once he's served, the countdown starts. Any contact after that point is a violation. Jennifer stirred cream into her coffee. I've seen guys like him before. Some take it seriously and disappear. Others test boundaries, trying to find loopholes. You need to be vigilant. What kind of loopholes? Maya asked. Having friends or family contact you on his behalf? Showing up in places he didn't know you'd be? Creating fake social media accounts to monitor you? The order says no contact, but some guys think they're smart enough to get around it. Jennifer met Maya's eyes. Don't respond to anything suspicious. Don't engage with people you don't know who suddenly want to be friends. And if anything feels off, document it and call the police. Maya nodded, making mental notes. Daniel watched her absorb the information, saw her shifting from relief to strategic planning. She was already thinking ahead, preparing for the possibility that this wasn't over. They ate slowly, savoring both the food and the moment. Priya kept everyone laughing with stories about her own legal battles. A landlord who'd tried to keep her deposit, a boss who'd learned the hard way that she knew labor laws better than his lawyer. She had a gift for turning tension into humor, for making the weight of what they'd just been through feel manageable. After lunch, Jennifer headed back to her office, promising to send copies of all the court documents. Priya, Maya, and Daniel walked to the waterfront despite the drizzle, needing movement and fresh air after the claustrophobic courthouse. They stood at the railing, looking out at Elliott Bay, watching ferries cut through gray water, seagulls wheeling overhead. I keep waiting for it to feel real, Maya said, pulling her jacket tighter against the wind. I keep thinking I'm going to wake up and find out the judge said no, or that Ryan found some way around it. It's real, Priya said firmly. You have a legal document saying he can't come near you. That's as real as it gets. But what if... No what ifs. Not today. Priya turned Maya to face her. Today, you won. You stood in front of a judge, told your truth, and the legal system actually worked the way it's supposed to. That's rare and beautiful and worth celebrating. Tomorrow you can worry about what ifs. Today, you get to feel safe. Maya looked at Daniel, seeking confirmation. He nodded. She's right. Take the win. But you've earned it. They walked the waterfront for another hour, slowly making their way back toward the parking garage. The rain had stopped, leaving everything clean and bright despite the overcast sky. Daniel felt his phone buzz repeatedly, Linda checking in, wanting to know when they'd be back to get Emma. He texted that they'd be there soon, then silenced his phone, focusing on the present moment. When they picked up Emma, she launched herself at Maya with the kind of enthusiasm only 5-year-olds could manage, chattering about the day she'd had with Grandma Linda. Daniel saw his mother-in-law watching Maya carefully, assessing. Linda had been told the basics, that Maya was staying with them temporarily, that she'd left an unsafe relationship. She'd asked no questions, simply helping however she could. It was the same grace she'd shown Daniel when Sarah died, understanding that sometimes people needed action rather than words. You look better, Linda said quietly to Maya while Emma was gathering her things. More like yourself. Maya smiled, and for the first time in weeks, it reached her eyes. I feel better, like maybe I can breathe again. Good. You're welcome here any time, not just as Daniel's guest, as yourself. Linda squeezed her hand. And if you ever need to talk about anything, I'm here. The drive back to Daniel's apartment was lighter than any trip they'd taken recently. Emma sang songs from school, Priya harmonizing in exaggerated opera style, making Emma dissolve into giggles. Maya joined in, her voice rusty from disuse but growing stronger. Daniel caught himself smiling, really smiling, for the first time in what felt like forever. Back at the apartment, they ordered pizza and settled in for what Priya declared a mandatory celebration night. She pulled out ingredients for cocktails. Apparently she'd been planning this regardless of the hearing's outcome. Mixing drinks with the confidence of someone who'd bartended through college. Emma got a special mocktail with extra cherries, feeling very grown up sitting with the adults. They played games, watched movies, told stories. It felt almost normal, like they were just friends hanging out rather than people who'd spent the day in court fighting for someone's safety. Emma fell asleep on the couch around 9, curled against Maya's side like a trusting kitten. Maya stroked her hair absently, her expression soft and distant. "Thank you," she said quietly, looking at Daniel and Priya. "For everything. I don't know how I would have gotten through this without you." "You would have found a way," Priya said. "You're stronger than you think. We just made it easier." "Still, thank you." Maya carefully shifted Emma's weight, letting Daniel scoop up his daughter and carry her to bed. When he returned, Maya was staring at her phone, her expression troubled. "What's wrong?" Daniel asked. "Ryan's been served. His lawyer texted me. Well, texted Jennifer, who forwarded it to me. He's officially been notified of the restraining order." Maya set down her phone. "Which means now we wait to see if he respects it." "He will," Priya said confidently. "Guys like him care about their reputation, their career. A violation means arrest, criminal record, potential jail time. He's too smart to risk it." But Daniel saw the doubt in Maya's eyes, the fear that had become her constant companion. 2 years of legal protection meant nothing if Ryan decided his need for control outweighed the consequences. They all knew it, even if nobody wanted to say it out loud. The next few days passed quietly. Priya stayed through Friday, helping Maya set up new email accounts, change her passwords, increase security on all her social media. They went through Maya's contacts systematically, identifying who could be trusted and who might pass information to Ryan. It was tedious, paranoid work, but necessary. On Saturday morning, Priya had to return to Portland. She hugged Maya for a long time at the door, whispering things Daniel couldn't hear. When she pulled back, both cousins had tears in their eyes. "You call me every day," Priya ordered. "I don't care if nothing happened. I want to hear your voice and know you're okay." "I will, I promise. And if he tries anything at all, you call the cops first, then me. In that order. No trying to handle it yourself, no giving him the benefit of the doubt." "I understand." Priya turned to Daniel. "Take care of her. I know you will, but I'm saying it anyway. She's the best person I know, and she deserves to feel safe." "I've got her," Daniel said simply. After Priya left, the apartment felt oddly empty, despite Maya still being there. Daniel worked at the kitchen table while Maya video called with her design team, and they fell into the routine they'd established over the past 2 weeks. Coffee at 7, work until lunch, walks around the block for fresh air, dinner with Emma, quiet evenings of reading or television. It was almost domestic, comfortable in a way that made Daniel realize how lonely he'd been before Maya knocked on his door. Emma had taken to Maya completely, treating her like an extension of the family. She'd ask Maya's opinion on outfits, beg her to help with art projects, insist she read bedtime stories in funny voices. Maya never seemed to mind, engaging with Emma with genuine affection that made something warm settle in Daniel's chest. On Sunday, 2 weeks and 2 days after Maya had first appeared at his door, she brought it up. "I need to start looking for my own place," she said. They were cleaning up after dinner, Emma playing in her room. "I can't crash on your couch forever." Daniel dried a dish, not looking at her. "You're not crashing. You're staying. There's a difference. Daniel, you've been incredible, more than incredible, but you have a life, a routine, a daughter who needs consistency. I've disrupted all of that." "Emma loves having you here, so do I." He set down the towel, turning to face her. "I'm not saying you have to stay forever, but don't leave because you think you're imposing. Leave when you're ready, when you found a place that feels safe and right." Maya leaned against the counter, studying him. "Why are you doing this? Really? I know what you said before about showing up and paying it forward, but this is more than that. You've rearranged your entire life for me." Daniel was quiet for a long moment, choosing his words carefully. "When Sarah died, I shut down. I focused on Emma because I had to, but I stopped living. I stopped connecting with people, stopped letting anyone in. I told myself it was about protecting Emma from more loss, but really, I was protecting myself. I couldn't handle the idea of caring about someone and losing them again." "Daniel, let me finish." He met her eyes. "You showing up at my door, asking for help, it woke something up in me. Reminded me that I'm capable of more than just existing, that I can show up for people, make a difference, matter beyond just being Emma's dad." He smiled slightly. "You didn't disrupt my life. You reminded me I still have one." Maya's eyes were wet. I don't know what to say. You don't have to say anything. Just stay until you're ready to go. No pressure, no expectations, just one friend helping another. She nodded, wiping her eyes. They finished the dishes in comfortable silence, and later that night, after Emma was asleep, they sat on the couch watching a documentary about space exploration. Maya fell asleep halfway through, her head on Daniel's shoulder, and he let her stay there, the weight of her trust settling around them like a blanket. The next week passed similarly. Maya worked remotely, slowly rebuilding her confidence in her design work. She took on a new client, a small startup looking for branding help, and Daniel watched her come alive during creative calls, her passion for her work evident in every gesture. She was finding herself again, piece by piece. Emma's 6th birthday was coming up, and she decided she wanted a space-themed party. Maya threw herself into helping plan it, designing invitations that looked like boarding passes for a spaceship, creating decorations that turned Daniel's living room into a galaxy. Watching them work together, Daniel felt something shift in his chest, something warm and terrifying and hopeful all at once. He tried not to examine it too closely. Maya was healing from trauma. He was still grieving his wife. This wasn't the time for complicated feelings, but they kept surfacing anyway in small moments, the way Maya laughed at his terrible jokes, how she'd started keeping her favorite coffee creamer in his fridge without asking. The comfortable silence they'd fall into while working side by side at the kitchen table. 2 weeks after the restraining order hearing, Maya came home from a solo coffee run looking shaken. Daniel looked up from his laptop, immediately alert. What happened? I saw him, Ryan. He was across the street from the coffee shop. She set down her cup with trembling hands, just standing there, watching. Did he approach you? No, he stayed on his side of the street. When I came out, he was gone. Maya pulled out her phone. I'm probably being paranoid. It's a public space. He's allowed to be there. 500 feet, Daniel reminded her. The order says 500 feet from any location where he knows you'll be present. But how do we prove he knew I'd be there? It's a coffee shop. Anyone could go there. Maya sat down heavily. This is what Jennifer warned about, testing boundaries, finding loopholes. Daniel was already pulling up a map on his phone, measuring the distance between the coffee shop and where Maya said Ryan had been standing. 420 feet. He was within the boundary. That's not an accident. What do I do? We document it. Take screenshots of the location, write down exactly what happened, what time, what he was wearing. Then we call Jennifer and let her decide if it's worth reporting. They spent the next hour documenting everything. Jennifer called back within 30 minutes, her voice tight with controlled anger. This is classic testing behavior. He's seeing how close he can get without technically violating the order. My guess is he'll keep doing it, gradually getting closer, until either you don't notice or he can claim it was coincidental. She paused. Change your routine. Don't go to the same coffee shop at the same time. Vary your schedule. Don't make yourself predictable. I shouldn't have to change my life because he can't follow the law, Maya said, frustration bleeding through. You're right, you shouldn't. But until he makes a clear violation we can prosecute, we have to be strategic. Jennifer's voice softened. I know it's not fair, but safety comes first. After the call ended, Maya sat on the couch, arms wrapped around herself. Daniel could see the fear settling back into her shoulders, undoing weeks of progress. Hey, he said gently, look at me. She did, eyes hollow. You're not alone in this. We adapt together. You want coffee? I'll go with you. You need to go somewhere. I'll drive you. We make it harder for him to play these games. I can't ask you to be my bodyguard. You're not asking. I'm offering. Daniel sat beside her, careful to maintain space. Besides, I work from home. My schedule is flexible, and Emma loves adventures. We'll make it fun. Maya managed a weak smile. You're ridiculous. I'm committed. There's a difference. Over the next week, they implemented Jennifer's advice. Daniel accompanied Maya on errands, coffee runs, work meetings. They took different routes, varied their timing, stayed unpredictable. Emma thought it was a game, delighted to help pick new routes and spot bad guys like they were secret agents. Ryan didn't appear again, but Maya remained hypervigilant, checking over her shoulder constantly, flinching at unexpected sounds. Daniel watched the progress she'd made slowly erode, fear creeping back in despite all their precautions. On Friday night, after Emma was asleep, Maya broke down. "I can't do this anymore," she sobbed. "I can't live like this, always looking over my shoulder, wondering if he's watching. The restraining order was supposed to make me feel safe, but I'm more terrified now than I was before." Daniel let her cry, not offering platitudes or false reassurance. When she'd exhausted herself, he handed her water and tissues. "What do you need?" he asked simply. "I don't know. I thought getting away from him would be enough. I thought legal protection would make me feel secure. But he's still in my head, still controlling my life even when he's not physically present." She wiped her eyes. "Maybe I should leave Seattle, start over somewhere he can't find me. Is that what you want? Or is that fear talking?" Maya was quiet for a long moment. "I don't know anymore. I can't tell the difference." "Then don't make any big decisions right now. Wait until you can think clearly." Daniel leaned forward. "You've been through trauma. Your brain is in survival mode, seeing threats everywhere. That's normal, but it doesn't mean you have to let it control your choices." "How do I get past it?" "Time. Therapy. Continued safety. There's no quick fix." He met her eyes. "But you've already survived the worst of it. You got out. You got legal protection. You're rebuilding. The fear is just your brain trying to keep you safe from something that's already over. It doesn't feel over. I know, but it will. Eventually." The next morning, Maya made a decision. She called a therapist Jennifer had recommended, someone who specialized in domestic violence recovery. She scheduled her first appointment for the following week. It was a small step, but Daniel saw the determination in her eyes, the refusal to let Ryan's shadow define her future. Emma's birthday party was that afternoon, and they threw themselves into preparations. Maya had transformed the living room into a convincing spaceship, complete with cardboard control panels and glow-in-the-dark stars on the ceiling. Emma's friends arrived in waves of energy and chaos, and for a few hours the apartment was filled with laughter and screaming children and the kinds of messes that came with birthday cake and zero-gravity games. Daniel watched Maya navigate the chaos with easy grace, helping kids with crafts, mediating disputes over who got to be the captain, making every child feel special. She caught him watching and smiled, something genuine and unguarded, and Daniel felt his heart do something complicated in his chest. Later, after the party wound down and Emma crashed hard from sugar overload, Daniel and Maya cleaned up the destroyed living room. They worked in comfortable silence, gathering streamers and deflating balloons, restoring order to chaos. "Thank you for today," Daniel said. "Emma's never had a party this good. Sarah always wanted to throw elaborate birthdays, but we never quite pulled it off. It was fun. I needed the distraction." Maya tied up a garbage bag. "And Emma's joy is contagious. Hard to feel scared when a 6-year-old is explaining rocket physics with complete confidence and zero accuracy." They finished cleaning and collapsed on the couch, exhausted but satisfied. Daniel turned on the television, finding some mindless comedy, and they watched without really paying attention. "I think I want to stay in Seattle," Maya said suddenly. "Not here, in your apartment, but in the city. I don't want to let him chase me away from the life I built." "That's brave. That's stubborn. There's a difference." She smiled slightly. "But yeah, I'm done running, done letting fear make my decisions. I'll find my own place, keep doing my work, live my life. And if he wants to play games, let him. I'll document it, report it, and let the legal system handle it." "That's the Maya I remember," Daniel said. "The one who climbed trees higher than anyone else just to prove she could. That Maya broke her arm falling out of a tree. But she climbed it first. That's what matters." They sat in comfortable silence, the television providing white noise, both lost in their own thoughts. Daniel thought about the past 3 weeks, how completely his life had changed since that rainy Saturday night. He'd been existing in a holding pattern since Sarah's death, going through motions, focusing on Emma, never really living. Maya's presence had shifted something, reminded him that he was still capable of connection, of caring, of showing up for people beyond just the minimum required. He glanced at Maya, seeing her profile in the television's glow, and realized with sudden clarity that this feeling in his chest wasn't just friendship or protectiveness. It was something more complicated, something he wasn't ready to name or examine too closely. Not yet. Maybe not ever. But it was there, growing quietly in the space between them, and Daniel knew that whatever happened next, his life would never return to the careful isolation he'd maintained before. Maya yawned, stretching. I should let you have your couch back. I'll take the floor tonight. Don't be ridiculous. Keep the bedroom. I'm fine out here. Daniel, Maya, keep the bedroom. We're not arguing about this again. She smiled, shaking her head, but didn't argue further. She stood, pausing at the hallway entrance. Hey, Daniel? Yeah? I'm glad I knocked on your door that night. I don't know what would have happened if I hadn't, but I'm grateful you were there. Me too, he said quietly. Me too. She disappeared down the hall, and Daniel heard the bedroom door close softly. He lay back on the couch, staring at the ceiling, thinking about doors and chances and the strange ways life could change in a single moment of trust. Outside, rain began to fall again, washing Seattle clean, and Daniel let himself hope that maybe, eventually, they'd all find their way to something better than just survival. 3 months passed before Ryan made his next move, and when he did, it was subtle enough that Maya almost missed it. She'd started therapy with Dr. Patricia Wong, a calm woman in her 50s who specialized in trauma recovery, and the sessions were slowly helping Maya untangle the knots of fear and self-doubt Ryan had tied around her psyche. She'd found an apartment in Fremont, a sunny one-bedroom with hardwood floors and a view of the canal, and was planning to move in at the end of the month. Daniel had helped her pick it out, walking through showings with her, pointing out things she'd missed in her nervousness. Good water pressure, secure locks, proximity to police stations. Emma had declared it perfect for Maya after seeing the built-in bookshelves, already planning how Maya should decorate. It felt like progress, like Maya was finally building a life that was hers alone. Then the flowers arrived. Daniel was at the kitchen table reviewing a client proposal when Maya came through the door carrying a massive bouquet of white roses. Her face was pale, her hand shaking around the crystal vase. These were outside your door, she said, her voice flat. No card. No name. Just these. Daniel stood immediately, taking the vase from her and setting it on the counter. When did they arrive? I don't know. I just got back from therapy, and they were sitting there. Maya pulled out her phone, taking photos from multiple angles. White roses were Ryan's signature thing. He sent them after every fight, every time he hurt me. Like flowers could erase what he'd done. Could be a coincidence. Could be from someone else. Daniel, we both know that's not true. She was already texting Jennifer Morrison. This is him, testing boundaries again, reminding me he knows where I am. Did you touch them? Besides carrying them inside? No, well, yes, I had to carry them. But I didn't open any card or... Maya stopped. Wait, there might be a card tucked inside. Daniel carefully moved aside the flowers, finding a small envelope nestled among the stems. He used a tissue to extract it, not touching it directly, and opened it with the edge of a knife. Inside was a simple card with 2 words in elegant script. I'm sorry. Maya's breath caught. That's his handwriting. I'd recognize it anywhere. Daniel photographed the card, the envelope, the flowers from every angle. This is a clear violation. He sent you something. That's direct contact. But how do we prove it? There's no return address, no receipt, nothing connecting him to these. Maya's voice was rising, panic bleeding through. His lawyer will say it could be from anyone, that Maya is paranoid and seeing threats where there aren't any. Then we start with the delivery. Someone had to bring these here. Building has cameras in the lobby. Daniel was already pulling up the building management's number. We get that footage, we trace the delivery, we connect it back to him. Jennifer called back within minutes, her professional calm slightly frayed. Do not throw away the flowers or the card. Those are evidence. I'm contacting the police to file a report. This is direct violation of the protective order. He initiated contact, regardless of how it was delivered. The police arrived an hour later, the same Detective Chen who'd called Daniel about Ryan's missing person report weeks ago. She examined the flowers with the kind of practiced assessment that suggested she'd seen this before. White roses, no card except an apology. Classic abuser move. She photographed everything, bagged the card as evidence. We'll pull the building's camera footage, trace the delivery service, and see where it leads. If we can connect Mr. Hale to the order, that's grounds for arrest. And if you can't? Maya asked. Then we document it as part of an ongoing pattern of harassment. One incident might not be enough for prosecution, but multiple incidents build a case. Detective Chen looked at Maya directly. How are you holding up? I was doing better. Now I feel like I'm back at square one. That's what he wants. Guys like this, they can't stand losing control. So they chip away at your sense of safety, bit by bit, hoping you'll give up and come back, or at least respond. The detective closed her notebook. Don't give him that satisfaction. Keep living your life, keep documenting, keep moving forward. After the police left, Maya sat on Daniel's couch, staring at nothing. Emma was at a friend's house for a playdate, giving them space to process. Daniel made tea, neither of them would drink, and sat in the armchair across from her. I can't do this for 2 years, Maya said finally. I can't spend 2 years waiting for the next thing, wondering when he'll show up, or what he'll send, or how he'll try to reach me. You won't have to. Either he'll slip up badly enough that he gets arrested, or he'll eventually give up and move on. You don't know that. You don't know guys like Ryan. They don't give up. They just get more creative. She pulled her knees to her chest. Maybe I should respond. Tell him to stop. Make it clear I'm never coming back. That's exactly what he wants. Any response is engagement. It shows him his tactics are working, that he can still get to you. Daniel leaned forward. I know it feels impossible, but you've already made it 3 months. That's 3 months of building a new life, healing, moving forward. Don't let one bouquet of flowers erase all that progress. Maya was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke again, her voice was different, harder. I want to leave Seattle, not permanently, just for a while. Get some distance, clear my head. Remember what it feels like to not be constantly afraid. Where would you go? My parents are in Vermont. I haven't seen them in over a year. I could work remotely from there, spend some time in a place Ryan's never been, where there are no memories of him. She looked at Daniel. Is that running away? That's taking care of yourself. There's a difference. Would you think less of me for leaving? Maya, I could never think less of you. You're one of the strongest people I know. Daniel met her eyes. If going to Vermont gives you peace and space to heal, then go. The apartment in Fremont will still be here when you're ready. Your work will still be here. I'll still be here. Something shifted in her expression. You'll still be here, she repeated softly. That's what I'm afraid of. That I'll leave and everything will change. That you'll move on and realize you're better off without the chaos I brought into your life. Maya, let me finish. She took a shaky breath. These past 3 months, living here, being part of your and Emma's life, it's been the safest I've felt in years, maybe ever. And I'm terrified that if I leave, even temporarily, I'll lose that, lose you. Daniel's heart was beating too fast. You're not going to lose me. Geography doesn't change friendship. Is that what this is? Friendship? The question hung between them, heavy with implications neither had been willing to voice. Daniel thought about the past 3 months. The way his chest tightened when Maya smiled. How he'd started looking forward to mornings just because she'd be there, sleep rumpled and reaching for coffee. The way Emma had started saying, when Maya gets home, instead of when Maya comes over, claiming her as part of their family without anyone officially making that designation. He thought about Sarah, about the guilt he'd carried since her death, the feeling that moving forward meant betraying her memory. But Sarah had been gone for 3 years. And she'd never have wanted him to stop living, to close himself off from connection and possibility. I don't know what this is, Daniel said honestly. I know I care about you. I know having you here has made me happier than I've been since Sarah died. I know Emma adores you, and I love watching you two together, but I also know you're healing from trauma, and I'm still processing grief, and this might not be the right time for anything beyond what we already have. Maya nodded slowly. So we're friends who care about each other and live together and co-parent your daughter and have feelings we're not ready to examine. Essentially, yes, that's terrifyingly honest. I learned the hard way that life's too short for anything else. Daniel stood, moving to sit beside her on the couch. Go to Vermont if you need to. Stay as long as you need. I'll be here when you get back and we'll figure out what comes next when you're ready. Maya leaned against his shoulder and Daniel put his arm around her. They sat that way until Emma came home full of stories about her play date, shattering the quiet moment but replacing it with something equally valuable. the ordinary chaos of family life. The building cameras showed a courier service delivering the flowers at 2:15 p.m. The courier company's records showed the order was placed online using a prepaid credit card and a fake name. Untraceable, just as Ryan had intended. But Detective Chen filed it as part of the ongoing harassment case, adding it to the growing file of Ryan's boundary-testing behaviors. Jennifer Morrison was less optimistic. Unless we can prove he ordered them, this doesn't constitute a clear violation. His lawyer will argue anyone could have sent them, a friend trying to apologize, a delivery mistake, even Maya herself creating evidence. It's frustrating, but that's how these things work. Maya bought a plane ticket to Vermont for the following week. She'd stay with her parents for a month, work remotely, and reassess. Daniel helped her pack, Emma helping by adding stuffed animals Maya definitely didn't need to every suitcase. "You'll come back, right?" Emma asked the night before Maya's flight, worry creasing her small face. "You're not leaving forever?" Maya knelt down to Emma's level. "I'm coming back, I promise. I just need to visit my family for a little while. Like when you visit Grandma Linda. But you'll still be my friend when you come back?" "Always. You're stuck with me now." Maya pulled her into a hug, and Daniel saw tears in her eyes when Emma couldn't see. The next morning, Daniel drove Maya to the airport. They didn't talk much during the drive, both processing what the separation would mean. At departures, Maya hesitated before getting out of the car. "Thank you," she said, "for everything, for opening your door that night, for standing between me and Ryan, for giving me space to heal without pressure or expectations, for reminding me what safe feels like. You did the hard part. I just provided the couch. You provided a lot more than that." She reached over, squeezing his hand. "Take care of yourself and Emma. Don't work too hard. Remember to eat actual meals, not just coffee." "Yes, Mom," Daniel said, making her laugh. She got out, grabbed her bag, and disappeared into the terminal. Daniel sat in the departures lane longer than he should have, watching the doors she'd walked through, feeling the absence settle around him like a weight. Emma noticed immediately. That evening, as they ate dinner at the kitchen table, just the two of them for the first time in months, she looked around the apartment with solemn eyes. "It's too quiet without Maya," she announced. "Yeah," Daniel agreed. "It is. Do you miss her already?" "Yeah, sweetheart. I do." "Me too." Emma pushed pasta around her plate. "Daddy, do you love Maya?" Daniel's fork paused halfway to his mouth. "What makes you ask that?" "You smile different when she's here, like how you smiled in pictures with Mommy." Emma's logic was 6-year-old simple and devastatingly accurate. "And you let her use Mommy's coffee mug." Daniel had thought Emma hadn't noticed. The blue ceramic mug with yellow flowers that Sarah had loved, that he'd kept in the back of the cabinet untouched for 3 years. Until one morning Maya had reached for it unknowingly, and Daniel had almost stopped her before realizing he wanted her to use it, wanted Sarah's things to be part of life again instead of preserved in grief. "I care about Maya very much," Daniel said carefully. "She's a very good friend. But do you love her like you loved Mommy?" "I loved Mommy differently. Mommy was my wife, your mother. Maya is—" Daniel trailed off, realizing he didn't know how to finish that sentence honestly. "Maya is important to us, to both of us." Emma seemed satisfied with that answer, returning to her dinner. But Daniel sat with the question long after Emma went to bed, thinking about love and loss and whether his heart had room for both grief and hope. Maya called that night after she'd arrived in Vermont, her voice lighter than it had been in weeks. "It's so quiet here, like actually quiet. No traffic, no sirens, just trees and my mother fussing about how thin I've gotten. How are your parents?" "Relieved I'm out of Seattle. Worried about me in general. My dad keeps asking if he needs to have a conversation with Ryan, which is sweet, but terrifying considering he's never thrown a punch in his life." She laughed. "My mom's already planned a month's worth of home-cooked meals and mother-daughter activities. I think I'm going to gain back any weight I lost and then some." "Sounds perfect." "It is. It really is." A pause. "I miss you, though. Both of you. We miss you, too. Emma made me promise to send daily updates. Tell her I expect full reports on all kindergarten drama. And Daniel? Yeah? Thank you for understanding why I needed this. They talked for another hour, about nothing important, just the comfortable conversation of people who knew each other well. When they finally hung up, Daniel felt simultaneously better and worse, connected but distant, hopeful but uncertain. The month passed slowly. Maya sent photos of Vermont fall foliage, her parents' farm, the small art studio her mother had set up in the barn. She video called Emma regularly, helping with homework and hearing about school adventures. She and Daniel talked most nights, conversations that stretched late into the evening, covering everything from childhood memories to current fears to the small details of daily life. Dr. Wong thinks I'm making progress, Maya said one night, 3 weeks into her Vermont stay. I'm sleeping better, having fewer nightmares. I can go to coffee shops without checking over my shoulder constantly. That's good. That's really good. She also thinks I need to figure out what I want when I come back. Not what's safe or practical or expected, what I actually want. Maya's voice was careful. She asked me about you. About us. About why I'm so afraid of losing you if I leave. Daniel's pulse quickened. What did you tell her? That you make me feel safe. That Emma makes me laugh. That being in your apartment felt more like home than anywhere I've lived in years. That I'm terrified those feelings are just gratitude or trauma bonding or my brain latching onto the first safe person after Ryan. A pause. And that I'm equally terrified they're real. Maya, you don't have to say anything. I just needed to tell you. Dr. Wong said holding things in gives them more power than they deserve. She laughed shakily. So now you know. I have feelings for you that are complicated and possibly just my brain being confused, and I'm working through what that means. Daniel sat with that for a moment, thinking about honesty and timing and whether protecting someone meant hiding your truth or sharing it. I have feelings for you too. Have for a while now. Probably since you fell asleep on my shoulder watching that space documentary and I realized I didn't want you to leave. Really? Really. But like you said, it's complicated. You're healing. I'm grieving. Emma's involved. There are 100 ways this could go wrong. Or one way it could go right. Or that. They didn't resolve anything that night, but something had shifted, an acknowledgement that what existed between them was more than friendship or circumstance. They ended the call with promises to keep talking, to figure things out when Maya returned, to not let fear make their decisions. 2 days before Maya's scheduled return to Seattle, Ryan sent an email. It came through a newly created account bypassing the blocked contacts and protective orders intent, if not its letter. Jennifer forwarded it to Maya with a terse note. Don't respond. Forwarding to police and court. The email was brief, almost cordial. Ryan wrote that he'd done a lot of thinking, that he understood he'd made mistakes, that he hoped Maya was healing and finding peace. He said he was working with a therapist on his anger issues and learning better communication. He wished her well and said he hoped someday they could have closure in a healthy way. It was perfectly crafted manipulation, reasonable tone, acknowledgement of fault, claims of self-improvement, nothing overtly threatening or violating. Just a door left open, an invitation to respond, to believe he'd changed. Maya called Daniel immediately, her voice shaking. He's never going to stop, is he? Even when I'm across the country, he finds ways to reach me. He's getting desperate. The fact that he's trying this hard means he's losing control, and he knows it. Or it means he's escalating. Jennifer said guys like this either give up or get dangerous. What if he's in the second category? Daniel heard the panic in her voice, the weeks of progress threatening to unravel. Listen to me. You're safe. You're in Vermont with your parents. Ryan has no idea where you are. This email is a last-ditch attempt to get a response, any response. Don't give him one. I'm scared, Daniel. I'm scared to come back to Seattle. I'm scared he'll be waiting at the airport or my new apartment or your building. I'm scared I'll never feel safe anywhere. Then don't come back yet. Stay in Vermont longer. Take all the time you need. But I miss you. I miss Emma. I miss the life I was starting to build. She was crying now. I hate that he still has this power. I hate that even 3,000 miles away, one email can make me feel like I'm back in that apartment with him throwing his phone. He doesn't have power. He has desperation. And the more you don't respond, the more desperate he'll get, until eventually he makes a mistake big enough that the police can act. What if he hurts someone before that happens? What if he comes after you or Emma to get to me? He won't. We're not his target. You are. And you're safe. Daniel kept his voice steady, calm. Emma and I are fine. The building has security. I'm aware and careful. You focus on taking care of yourself. They talked until Maya's breathing evened out, until the immediate panic faded into exhausted resignation. Jennifer had already filed the email as another protective order violation, building the case even if this single instance wasn't prosecutable. Detective Chen was monitoring Ryan's credit cards, his social media, his known locations. Maya stayed in Vermont another 2 weeks, working through the email's aftermath with Dr. Wong via video sessions. When she finally booked her return flight, it was with a plan. Land in Seattle, spend 1 night at Daniel's to adjust, then move into her new Fremont apartment with new locks, a security system, and her parents on standby to fly out if needed. Daniel and Emma picked her up at the airport on a gray November afternoon. Emma spotted her first, shouting, "Maya!" across the arrivals area and running full speed into her arms. Maya scooped her up, spinning her around, both of them laughing. When she looked at Daniel over Emma's head, her eyes were wet, but her smile was real. "Welcome home," he said. "It's good to be home," she replied, and Daniel knew she meant it in more ways than one. They went to dinner at Emma's favorite pizza place, catching up on 6 weeks of separation. Maya was different, not fixed or healed completely, but stronger, more centered. She talked about Vermont with genuine fondness, but also clear-eyed readiness to return to her real life. She'd spent the time well, doing the hard work of recovery, and it showed. That night, after Emma was asleep, they sat on Daniel's couch with wine and the comfortable silence that came from knowing someone well. Rain pattered against the windows, Seattle welcoming Maya back in its typical fashion. "I've been thinking," Maya said, "about what I want, what I'm ready for. And I want to move into the Fremont apartment, prove to myself I can live independently and safely. I want to keep seeing Dr. Wong and working on my recovery. I want to rebuild my design business and take on bigger clients." She turned to face him. "And I want to see where this goes. With you. If you're willing to take it slow and figure it out together." Daniel's heart was racing. "I'm willing. More than willing. Even knowing I'm still healing, that I might have setbacks and fears and days where I'm not easy to be around. Even knowing all that. Because I'm still grieving, and I might have my own setbacks and days where I'm not easy to be around either." He took her hand. "We're both works in progress. Maybe that's okay." Maya leaned forward, and Daniel met her halfway. The kiss was soft, tentative, full of hope and hesitation in equal measure. When they pulled back, both were smiling. "That was nice," Maya said. "Yeah, it was. Can we do it again?" "Absolutely." They kissed again, less tentative this time, and Daniel felt something in his chest unfold. Not the erasure of grief, Sarah would always be part of him, but the expansion to include joy alongside sorrow, hope alongside loss. Maya moved into her Fremont apartment the following weekend. Daniel and Emma helped, making multiple trips with boxes and furniture, Emma declaring herself the best helper, despite mostly just narrating everyone else's work. The apartment was bright and airy, nothing like the place Maya had shared with Ryan. It was entirely hers, her furniture, her art, her safe space. "What do you think?" Maya asked Emma as they stood in the empty living room, boxes waiting to be unpacked. "I think you need more bookshelves, and maybe some plants. Daddy kills plants, but you seem like you'd be good at them." Emma considered seriously. "And you should get a cat. Everyone needs a cat." "I'll take it under advisement," Maya said, ruffling her hair. That night, after everything was unloaded and Emma was back home with Daniel, Maya stood in her new space feeling something she hadn't felt in over a year. Peace. Not the absence of fear. She still checked her locks twice, still jumped at unexpected sounds, but the presence of possibility. Her phone buzzed with a text from Daniel. "Emma wants to know if you've gotten a cat yet. I told her to give you at least 24 hours. Maya smiled, typing back. "Tell her I'm considering it, and thank you, for today, for everything. Thank you for coming back." Sleep well in your new place. I will. And she did. For the first time since leaving Ryan, Maya slept through the night without nightmares, secure in her own space, building her own life. The restraining order still had 21 months to run. Ryan would likely test boundaries again, send more flowers or emails, or find new ways to remind Maya he existed. But with each passing day, his power diminished. Maya's therapy continued, her business grew. Her relationship with Daniel deepened slowly, carefully, both of them learning to trust again at their own pace. Emma declared Maya her best grown-up friend and insisted on weekly dinners that rotated between Daniel's apartment and Maya's. They fell into a rhythm that felt like family without any official labels, messy and complicated and real. 6 months after Maya returned from Vermont, the restraining order was tested one final time. Ryan showed up at a coffee shop where Maya was meeting a client, coincidentally choosing a table within the 500-foot boundary. But this time, Maya didn't freeze. She calmly excused herself, called the police, and documented everything while her client, a sharp woman in her 40s, acted as witness. Ryan was arrested on the spot for violating the protective order. The charges stuck. He spent 3 days in jail and was given a stern warning that any future violations would result in serious criminal prosecution. His lawyer negotiated a deal where Ryan agreed to seek mandatory therapy and have no contact with Maya for the remainder of the protective order, with the understanding that violations would void the agreement. It wasn't a perfect ending, but it was an ending. Ryan finally understood that his actions had consequences, that Maya wasn't coming back, that the legal system would hold him accountable. Maya called Daniel from the police station, her voice shaking but triumphant. "It's over. He was arrested. It's actually over. How do you feel?" "Terrified, relieved, like I can finally breathe all the way." She laughed, slightly hysterical. "I stood up to him, in front of witnesses, and he was the one who had to leave. I'm proud of you." "I'm proud of me too." That night, they celebrated with Emma at Maya's apartment, pizza and ice cream and Emma's enthusiastic retelling of her school day. It was ordinary and perfect, the kind of moment that mattered more than grand gestures or dramatic resolutions. Later, after Emma fell asleep on Maya's couch and Daniel carried her to his car, Maya walked him to the door. "I love you," she said quietly. "I've wanted to say it for a while, but I needed to know it was real, that it wasn't just gratitude or trauma or fear of being alone. It's real." Daniel pulled her close. "I love you too. Have for months now. Maybe since that first night when you showed up terrified and still managed to worry about waking Emma." "We're really doing this? Starting something real?" "We've been doing something real since the beginning. We're just acknowledging it now." He kissed her forehead. "No pressure, no rushing, just us, figuring it out together." "That sounds perfect." A year after Maya knocked on Daniel's door asking for safety, she and Daniel stood in that same doorway watching Emma play in the courtyard below. The restraining order had 6 months left, but Ryan had gone silent. His social media showed he'd moved to California, started dating someone new, moved on with his life. Maya still had moments of fear, still checked over her shoulder sometimes. But they were becoming rarer, replaced by moments of joy and security and the ordinary challenges of building a life. "You know what I realized?" Maya said, leaning against Daniel's shoulder. "That night I knocked on your door, I thought I was asking for temporary shelter, a place to hide for one night. And you gave me so much more. You gave me a safe place to heal. You showed me what respect and kindness actually look like. You helped me remember who I was before Ryan tried to erase it." She looked up at him. "You gave me back my life. You did that yourself. I just opened the door. You did more than open a door. You stood in it, between me and everything I was afraid of. You didn't have to do that." "Yes, I did. Because that's what love is. Showing up, standing firm, being there when someone needs you most." Daniel kissed the top of her head. "And you did the same for me and Emma. You reminded us that our family could grow, that letting people in doesn't mean betraying who we've lost." Emma ran up to them, grass-stained and grinning. "Can Maya stay for dinner, please?" Maya and Daniel exchanged a look, smiling. "I think I can manage that," Maya said. They went inside together, the three of them, closing the door on the past and opening themselves to whatever came next. It wouldn't be perfect. There would be hard days and setbacks and moments of fear, but they would face them together, building something strong from the broken pieces, proving that sometimes the quietest choices, a knock on a door, a decision to help, a willingness to trust, changed everything.